Those who attain it become thereby uncreated, unoriginate, and indescribable. How could every saint become uncreated grace if this grace is created? And then, furthermore, or rather become identical to him through grace, him is God, rather than being a mere simulacrum or similarity, or even perhaps become the Lord himself, if such an idea is not too onerous for some to bear. And then, furthermore, nature, he continues unalterably a created thing. By the content and compass of his being, verily man becomes a God, in the same measure as Christ himself, Son of God, sitting in the throne of his Father. So these take a step further and say you actually become God himself, not just like God. And really, saying we are equal to Christ and equal to God makes no sense. So really, this derives from their idea of the two-natured Christology. Since there is no natural union, they'd say the flesh is uncreated by grace and remained what it is by nature. And so, saints are also able to attain this uncreated grace through theosis and be exactly like Jesus Christ's human nature, and there is no difference. If you ask them, okay, what's the difference between a saint who is uncreated by grace and Jesus, who is uncreated by grace in his human nature, well, they can't answer because it's the same thing. To every measure that God was deified in his flesh, we can also become. So we can basically just become God. So before I get call-outs of slander, saying that, oh, but we don't claim these things, right? We say that we become God by grace. By grace will save us, right? It doesn't, because your own saints out of their own mouths say that you truly become God. For example, Maximus of Constantinople says that according to the likeness of the Spirit's own beauty, so that by grace it lacks nothing of the attributes that belong to the divinity by nature. So again, it's hitting on this point that we become like God in totality. Anything that he can do, we can do. Very clearly, Chalcedonian theosis from their saints ends in apotheosis, or perfectly becoming God, which was what Pope Shenouda actually denied, not this fabrication. On the other hand, in the apostolic orthodox position, within our sort of one nature perspective, we become similar to the God-man, because the natural union into one is unachievable. We would also maintain that the flesh remains what it is by nature, but through the natural union, it is no longer just the man or just the deified flesh, but rather it is the God man. The same flesh that raises up from the dead, walks on water, eats, and does everything in full capacity as both God and man.